Nick Whalen here from RotoWire, talking fantasy basketball. We're just a few days into the regular season. I already have some regrets. I got 4 players for you who I wish I would have drafted more this season. Number 1, Damian Lillard of the Milwaukee Bucks. I don't have a whole lot of Lillard in my portfolio this season. It wasn't intentional necessarily, but even after one game, I already wish I had more. You look at the acquisition cost for Lillard this season: ADP of 33 in ESPN leagues, 25 in Yahoo, 32 in Underdog. Dame still finished as a solid second round value last season in what felt like a wildly disappointing year for both him and the Milwaukee Bucks. Obviously, his true prime years may be behind him, but we continue to see plenty of premier players play well into their mid-30s. Dame's only 34. The Bucks absolutely need Damian Lillard to show up every night for them to reach their ceiling, especially with Chris Middleton out indefinitely to begin the year. And Dame is still one of the NBA's best high volume three-point shooters. He's a 90% free throw guy on high volume. He gives you elite points, assists, should give you about a steal per game as well. I know the market was down on Dame after last season, and perhaps rightfully so, but he's someone I think is going to bounce back really nicely this season, could push for a top 15 fantasy year if he stays healthy. He's been a top 15 guy in 5 of the last 7 seasons in Roto Leagues. Number 2, another guard, Terry Rozier of the Miami Heat. And Rozier is, in retrospect, an obvious buy low guy. I wish I would have targeted more aggressively in drafts. The Heat are starting him at point guard to begin the year. He had a solid debut against Orlando, 19 points, 6 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 threes, 2 blocks for Terry Rozier as well. But really, it's not about some random one-game sample to begin the year. Even with somewhat of an unclear role this season in Miami, Rozier was going way too late in drafts. After pick 100 across the board, closer to the 110 range in Yahoo leagues. Obviously, he's missed time the last 2 seasons, but I'm not too concerned about that. This is a guy who has a pretty strong health track record throughout his career, dating back to his early days in Charlotte and Boston. He's only 30 years old, should have some prime seasons ahead of him. And even after what felt like a disappointing season last year, especially after the trade, Rozier still finished as a top 55 player in 8-cat leagues in terms of per game value. In terms of total value, factoring in games played, Rozier has easily been a top 100 option in 5 straight years. He's logged a couple top 40 seasons in there as well. I think Rozier plays a ton of minutes for this Heat team this season. Whenever Jimmy Butler or Tyler Hero miss time, he's going to be relied upon even more in that offense. He may not have the same level of upside compared to those peak days in Charlotte, but Rozier was widely available in the 8th or 9th round of drafts, and I just wish I would have grabbed more. Next on the list, Buddy Hield of the Golden State Warriors. Buddy Hield is on this list for me every year. Even in seasons where I load up on Buddy Hield, I always wish I had more. In category leagues, I love getting Hield around pick 100. Just add a bunch of guaranteed three-pointers late in the draft. There are very few players who can give you that at that point. Hield is somewhat of a category specialist, of course, but obviously he's giving you points along with those threes to give you some assists, some boards. He's a very good free throw shooter, albeit on relatively low volume. But really what we're after here is the three-pointers. Prior to last season, Hield finished 2nd in total made threes in 4 consecutive seasons. Even last year, when he saw fewer minutes, he bounced around between Indy and Philly. He still finished 15th in the NBA in total made threes. Since he entered the league in 2016, Hield ranks behind only Steph Curry in total makes. He's got more than James Harden, more than Damian Lillard, more than Klay Thompson. And part of the reason for that is he does not miss games. He simply does not. Even last year, Buddy Hield found a way to play 84 regular season games thanks to that trade. Hield is number 1 in the NBA in total games played since coming into the league, just ahead of Harrison Barnes and Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, if you're curious. The move to Golden State, it brings some uncertainty. The Warriors look like they're going to utilize a deep rotation. We're not sure exactly what that's going to look like in the long term, but I'm confident that Hield is going to be a part of that rotation and play a big role alongside Steph Curry and Draymond Green. Those are 2 pieces who should really open things up for him. Now, we'll see where the minutes ultimately settle, but in all likelihood, Hield will again be among the league leaders in total threes. And for a guy who was going in the 120s this year in Yahoo leagues, I got him for a couple bucks in an auction. He's such a great, reliable asset to have in category leagues, especially if you go light on threes early in your draft. Finishing out with the 4th player on our list, another guard, Cam Thomas of the Brooklyn Nets. All right, we're 1 game into the season, and I already regret not having Cam Thomas on more of my teams. In the opener against Atlanta, he did pretty much exactly what we expected. 34% usage rate, 34 points, 27 shots, 7 threes, 5 boards, 3 assists, 3 steals. And of course, the Nets were still a -8 while he was on the floor and they lost the game. We were saying it all offseason. Cam Thomas is set for an all-time bad team, good stats season. And we are yet to receive any evidence to the contrary. Now, there will be nights when he struggles. Obviously, Atlanta, not a great defensive team. That was a decent matchup for him to begin the year, but the volume is going to be there all season long. We know that. Cam is going to have the green light for this team. There's really no one on that Nets roster standing in the way, except maybe Dennis Schroeder, who's also probably thrilled with all the shots he's going to get. But beyond that, there's not much there. And the best part is the Nets will, in all likelihood, be bad enough on their own that there's very little shutdown risk here for Cam Thomas late in the season. At least in my mind, I think the Nets will have no trouble finding their way into the bottom four. You did have to pay up a bit for Thomas, maybe the 60th to 70th pick in your draft, but I really think it's going to be worthwhile. I think it's going to be a nice windfall. Plenty of good players on the board in that range, but Cam Thomas is someone who's going to get you points, threes, free throws. He was an 86% free throw shooter last season, took 6 free throws per 36 minutes. So that's a big plus in category leagues. Bottom line is, I feel like I'm going to be missing out on what might be a really incredible fantasy season for Cam Thomas, especially if he can give you closer to a steal per game and hand out a couple more assists. All right, those are 4 players who I wish I had drafted more of this season. Let us know if you agree. Do you have some of these guys on your teams? Who are the players that you wish you would have drafted? Let us know in the comments. Make sure you're subscribed to the RotoWire Fantasy Basketball YouTube channel as well. And make sure you check out rotowire.com/try. Free access to all the tools, all the features, all the articles over on rotowire.com.